Hello, 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 and welcome in to Beyond the Den by Bear Claw Media. I am Chris Bolin, joined as always by Ben Schleiger. Ben, how you doing?
Pretty good. It was a entertaining week of football. Finally getting some. Well, we're getting a lot of Big Sky marquee matchups this year, but a lot of interesting results, and ultimately, good week for UNC. So overall, not too shabby so far.
You know, Ben, there was one thing that I think could have made this a much better week, and it was one North Dakota corner not getting burned on a double move in Missoula on yesterday. So I think that's kind of the big game that we have from the weekend. So number 5 Montana, who I still attest is criminally overrated in these rankings, beat 24 number 16 North Dakota 23. um and North Dakota had not a commanding lead, but was kind of ahead of this one throughout. And then Montana touchdown pass with about a minute and a half left to go ahead by one. And then a fairly controversial, would you say, non-call on a pass interference. It feels like the general consensus is this was kind of there were UND fans who were like, we got hosed, and there were some Montana fans surely saying no, that wasn't pass interference. But similar to the Cheeks thing UNC went through with CSU, it felt like the consensus was that's pass interference, but that's not why you lost the game. So not sure how much of this one you got to watch versus just because I was mainly in follow along mode up in South Dakota. But what were your takeaways from this game?
Yeah, I was mostly following along as well. I don't think North Dakota fans are wrong, because that screenshot online is very visibly he's getting yanked by the Big Sky logo. His shoulders are 1,000% turned. But just like Bears fans, as much as we want one call to be overturned and all of a sudden our result is different, we can't have that. So ultimately, Jerry Kaminsky just needed to have a better game. Like, North Dakota did very well early on, yes, but 17 for 40 for 258, three touchdowns and an interception. Ultimately, they need to clean up the passing. I don't think that Montana's a world beater yet. Criminally overranked, possibly, but I'm not sure there's a whole lot of teams outdoing or gonna outdo what the Dakotas and the Montanas are doing right now. So besides Tarleton being kind of like the Cinderella favorite, that like we're all cheering for them to overthrow and give us a little bit of a grimace color to the conference or to the league. I think ultimately North Dakota, like, yes, you did have a rough ending to this, but also like you caused two interceptions from Ayat. Like, I don't think that Montana fans should. Ayat had a better game, but I don't think they should be comfortable with that. I think they 100% should still be vile on the message boards like they always are, and we can always expect from Chris fans. But ultimately, like, Eli Gilman had a decent game, 16 for 82, but that 20-yard break really gave his average a lot of a boost. Michael Wortham kind of being used as a multi-tool is interesting, but just like Taco Dowler, he has such a celebrity presence throughout the conference that he's just one to watch, and you can't get him to be a breakout player necessarily. So overall, yes, Montana did enough to win. Um, Interesting enough, Peyton Wing has been getting dogged on all season, and he gets an interception off of Jerry Kaminsky. So shout out to him for kind of rising above the haters, as he was an all conference nominee, and ultimately I think one of the best linebackers in the conference. So kind of like that he got a little bit of some love there. Also, I got through two interceptions to the same freaking guy. Shout out Antonio Bluette, possibly. Shout out to him getting two picks off of Ayat. He had his number. It's still only a junior, so this kid could either be a threat for North Dakota going forward, or possibly always go for the FBS money day. Shout out to him. Overall, yeah, like it's a great game, and I think I'm still gonna raise North Dakota just a little bit in the polls. I know 1 and 2 is kind of I eyebrow-raising thing to do that, but they took Kansas State to the line. They made Portland State look like a JV team. Ultimately, I think this is still a good North Dakota team. Montana, again, they're 2-0. They're at the top of the heap. They have a baby shit soft schedule. 8 home games. Like all I gotta do, clap it up for Montana. Like, you guys are doing everything right outside of football to set yourself up for success. While I think this should be a concerning result for Montana fans, you ultimately got the win. But yeah, 8 home games, baby soft schedule, still undefeated technically, and they're going to be just fine next week against Indiana State. So I think ultimately Montana's in the driver's seat until they're not.
Yeah, and that really makes me mad, Ben.
It should.
It,
Like, it's fantastic.
I
Like, I gotta say, like, shout out to the administration. You
yeah, they
already
nailed it.
have like an edge up over everybody else, and then you put yourself in basically like the most homer situation possible. Uh, just gotta respect it.
Yeah, and the thing I think why I'm so mad is I was so close to being proven right. I've been low on Montana for
You got the pick
since
right.
we did our what?
You got the pick right. I got it wrong.
That's true, and that also makes me mad because I don't want to be on the. I
You
don't.
benefit from their win, brother.
I know which I needed. I did need as I'm going through some of this pick'em stuff, but
I still
that's
stand
I
by
think
North Dakota. Just they need better quarterback play. 100%.
I think the most the thing you said that I agree with the absolute most, and you kind of nailed it. There's nobody else. Like everybody, I don't know where Montana. They're about 5 or 6 in the polls, right? I've I am looking through the redshirt sports like voting. I had them at 15 last week, and I feel even with this loss, I feel justified, or with the win, I feel justified in that. But there's no way I can't move them to the top 10 because none of these other schools are doing anything. Idaho didn't look good against Dixie State that went 1-10 last year. Um, Rhode Island beat Holy Cross 9-7. That one's Holy Cross is probably a
Three
little
field
better
goals
than
too.
their
Not even like no safeties, no not 3 field goals. Like, respect.
and who even South Dakota State only beat Drake 37-21, which
Weird.
is a little weird. So there's nobody. I've been higher on Southern Illinois. They beat UT Martin. That's probably one of the better wins. Tennessee Tech smashing Davidson.
Tennessee
So
Tech
like
needs to
it's
be respected. I don't think they can necessarily hang with North Dakota or any of the Dakotas or the Montanas, but as an FCS team, just like Lehigh beat Duquesne by 2 scores. Again, I don't think Lehigh is going to win the championship, but I think they should be a respectable team throughout the FCS landscape.
no, I 100% agree. Austin P. I'm trying to find what they did last week. They beat Morehead State. So there's some of those like
And
there's
New
some of
Hampshire
like the
took Ball State, to the wire and lost by 5. So there's definitely teams
okay,
out there doing a lot with a little for sure.
but
But ultimately, like, besides North Dakota State, like, even they let SEMO have 14 on them. So like, but I feel like the
SEMO's at least a
tiers, like, it's
respectable program.
it's North Dakota State, the Montanas, and Dakotas, and Tarleton State, and then it's a whole lot of like, you're gonna make the playoffs, but I don't know what you're gonna do.
I I see a top 4, and then after that top 4, I have no idea because I think NDSU, SDSU have earned they've earned being up there. Tarleton State has, I think, more than anybody probably earned being up there. And then Montana State, while it's been a little bit weird, they had a couple of money games in that one against they played the Jackrabbits earlier, right? And so I think there's a top 4, and then if you wanted to tell me Austin P was 5th, I'd be like, okay, I can't really fight that. Montana, they probably have the next best win of any of these schools, but then it sucks because they're going to get up there and then they play like nobody until like a little ways into the Big Sky slate. So it's just there's a lot of frisky teams, but I don't see anybody outside of that top 4 realistically contending for a title unless things, long season. But if
Long
the playoffs
season, lot
started
could
now,
happen, lots of injuries. All conference, all Americans could develop. Also, shout out to our friend David Hogue. I'll look up his stats and whatnot. But West Georgia taking down another notable team that was in the playoff mix last year, 35-31 over East Tennessee State. I mean, West Georgia. I, I, I know they're not playoff eligible, but I rallied for them to be in the polls. I had them at 22 or 23 last week. I know it's kind of like the Ivies. It's a weird situation, but I feel like West Georgia still needs some respect on their name.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it's just good for Hogue. It is a bummer that he's going to a place where they can't make the playoffs, but I get it. Like he needed a change of place more than anybody from UNC, but it's a very clustered. I guess maybe I'm setting all this up to say don't be mad at whatever rankings, whatever order of these teams I put them in. Just know it's hard, guys. Okay, but UC Davis was off with a bye. Abilene played a who was it? The FBS
TCU.
who'd they play? Yeah, and they
They made it
held. I didn't
interesting.
watch that one. Final score is respectable. That's most of what I think you want to do when you go in there. What the hell do you do with South Dakota? Do you move them up? Do you move them down? Do you keep them right where they're at? Because that I don't know what to make of UNC, and I think most people will probably move South Dakota down. But I think we've been obviously paying closer attention than the average bear. So, uh,
Yeah, I mean, last
anything
week
else on?
I didn't put them very high, at least not for where they're at. Like I actually didn't even have them ranked, because I was so mad at them, for losing to Lamar. So yeah, I took them completely out. People having them at 12, I get it, but like barely winning against us, like sure, we love the Bears. We're gonna vouch for the Bears 100% of the time, but we have one D2 win and now two losses. Like that's taking us to overtime. That's not a compliment. That's definitely a negative rebuke on their part.
Yeah, and I agree. It is that right now. I wonder if maybe at the end of the season UNC's like, I don't know, 6-6, 5-7, and it's like, oh, that's actually it was not a great it wasn't a great result, but it wasn't like heinous the way it kind of seems right now. But yeah, it's South Dakota's an interesting one. I have no idea what to do with them. I think I had them at I kept them in. I had them at 19 of right ahead of Lamar because I don't know, man. Or no, that's not my vote. That was the general vote. I had them at 18, two spots ahead of Lamar. So I guess I don't know either. But it's so tough. I wonder if there is like a one more team that's in that hell even 5 to 25 range or 10 to 25 range who will all of a sudden have like two big Missouri Valley wins once conference plays. If there's something that they just haven't played anybody yet, and one of these teams might poke through, but I am not quite seeing it.
Yeah, I mean, like my top five is literally SDSU, NDSU, Tarleton, Montana, Montana State, and honestly, I'm gonna drop Montana quite a bit. I was impressed with them the week before, but not this week. And I have North Dakota at 14. Uh, I'll probably like bump them up a spot or two. Nobody really like UC Davis was off, so I'm not gonna drop them. I might drop Idaho a little bit because barely beating Dixie State, not a great look, especially when Joshua Wood is supposed to be like this savior of the program as Eck gutted it and took it down to New Mexico. Also, shout out, New Mexico just mollywopped UCLA, so Eck moving up and making the most of it for sure. But yeah, kind of the teams you listed um, are kind of like my spicy ones I'm keeping an eye on. Tennessee Tech, that's a big one for me. I don't know if they're going to make a lot of playoff push, but I think it's a respectable effort. Also, like New Hampshire, Austin P, West Georgia, overall Southern Illinois, like doing enough to stay impressive. So we'll kind of see where it ends up. But yeah, it's a convoluted FCS year from anywhere from like basically five on. So Rhode Island was my six last week. Beating Holy Cross
Who
by 3 field goals
who
is
knows?
it's
Yeah, it's
lovely,
it's
but they're probably going to drop because of their performance.
yeah, and that's the thing is I just don't know who to put in that 5 slot. I had Idaho there last week. I also not impressed by Idaho. Honestly, it's Montana probably deserves it more than anybody else just because they do have a top 25 win. Idaho looked good against Washington State, but Washington State going and getting absolutely shit canned by North Texas yesterday. I think like 59-10 makes me kind of doubt that one a little bit. Yeah, Rhode Island didn't look good. Southern Illinois, whatever. So I think I could just go in this circle forever. You have anything else on the current state, or do you want to move forward to picking some Big Sky
I
games next
mean,
week?
if I was a schlup Craig Haley slot voter, oh no, did I say that? Yeah, I said that. I would put Lehigh as my sixth just based off of performance. But yeah, like we're not a slot voter. We give a shit over at Red Shirt Sports. Shout out James Singleton for making a visually appealing and also quality content poll. Love it.
With the
Just the visuals alone is freaking awesome. Plus, like we can see our previous ballot, so we can, for someone who's a little bit busy like me, working 67 hours and having a toddler at home, fantastic to look back and be like, oof, I don't like them as number four anymore. F that, they're getting dropped. Really
yeah,
like it so far, but yeah, ultimately Illinois State might be my six.
I don't hate that. I think what will tie a perfect bow, not a perfect bow, but I think illustrates how up in the air this like top 25 can be. I just realized I forgot to put UC Davis on my ballot, and like it didn't even James didn't even like be like, "Hey, it didn't even raise a red flag," because it's like such a things are so like up in the air. And I'm looking, and a couple other voters have him like towards the end of the top 25. So he probably very well just was like, "Okay, sure."
James is very accepting. Also, like he'll call out something
he'll
if you're
roast he'll
heinously
roast
like,
you, but he's
"Wow, did you put?"
he
Well,
was
okay, he didn't. He didn't make them change it, but somebody had Tennessee State in their top 10,
he
and they had Tennessee Tech on the poll, and I'm like, that part you might have fat thumbed that one for sure. But overall, yeah, it's been a very interesting time. I don't think you're wrong on UC Davis. Ultimately, like I gave them the win that week. A lot of people say they were just gonna screw it up and lose it because of the rain delay and whatnot. I get both sides, but Mercer looks like crap this year. So
yeah,
as
oh yeah.
much as they were a playoff power, per se, not a title contender, but a playoff interesting for sure. They look shitty this week. So yeah, there's not a lot on UC Davis's schedule that really just makes you want to love them. 70-10 against Washington. That's not exactly fair judgment, but also like only beating Dixie State by a touchdown. I don't know. Like I got to give Dixie State a lot of love. Utah Tech. I really
They
do like
look
the
much
branding. The Trailblazers is pretty cool. Plus, white, red, white, and blue. You still kind of keep the culture a little bit. So those guys who wanna wave a different flag, they can. Just don't do it in our parking lot. God damn it. Um, Ultimately, I think Utah Tech is very interesting. And the Big Sky should not necessarily be afraid of them, but definitely take notice.
Yeah, they seem much improved from the team that won one game last year. So I think they have the money to not they're not rich, I don't by any means, but I think they're a decent like decently funded program. So probably just going through a rough stretch there. Yeah, but no, the Big Sky should be on notice with them coming in next year because a lot of Big Sky teams this year played them, and they have. I don't think they've won one, but they've given everybody at least a good run for their money. So doesn't look like they have a. It doesn't look like they're playing any Big Sky team this week, and neither is Southern Utah is. They're playing UC Davis, but
That'll solve some
um,
some worries for us. And then next week, actually, next 3 weeks will be interesting. I take it back. Southern Utah's schedule is amazing. They're going to be definitely tested the whole season as they play West Georgia, Tarleton State, Abilene Christian, Utah Tech, Austin P. Like
damn.
that's kind of a murder gauntlet. The UAC might be solidly the third best conference so far this year, so that'll be interesting. Southern Utah, of course, make fun of them because they lost to San Diego in overtime, but they haven't had a bad game really. Like you can say that's a bad game because it's a non-scholarship school, but also like they still scored 27 points, not terrible. They beat Idaho State, which has been scoring a crap ton of points all season long, and then they take playoff fringe Big Sky team Northern Arizona to the brink, 52-49, and end up losing that. But Ty Pennington is also kind of the favorite returning Big Sky quarterback from the conference.
Yeah, and I think that's another team that I don't quite know what to make of. And I actually, let's get into the pick'em because I think a couple questions we can talk about this as we go through some of these games. Let's start with the absolute shitters. Lincoln parentheses California at Idaho State, a familiar foe
Bishop
that
Sycamore?
some of these literally, yeah, a familiar team that a lot of these Big Sky programs have scheduled just to kick their ass the last couple years. I think Idaho State's going to be the next in that line. I imagine the Bengal Kitties are going to take care of business pretty easy. I imagine you agree.
Fun fact, I think it's either their coach is also their athletic director or their athletic
Oh yeah,
director is
I
also their president. And
I
their
dug that one
website
up
works
last
for
year. I
dog
remember.
shit. Like I've seen Wix websites work better and have more info. So yeah, I'm not even sure this should be a sanctioned game, but the Bob Kitties should get their first win of the year.
Wrong,
Um,
wrong, wrong kitties.
or the Bengal Kitties, my bad. They're a cat that doesn't matter in the Big Sky. But yeah, as much as we like Idaho State, I don't or don't like them. I don't think we can pick against them this week. So unfortunately, they get to have a 600-yard game going into seeing us. So that's not great, but also like we should hopefully pick up a win this week as well.
All right, Mercyhurst going to Montana State. I will leave all the doubts out of this one. I think Montana State's going to go ahead and take care of business.
Montana State, but also like it was frisky. It was
Friskier than
35-28
it should have
when
been.
I was checking in on it last night. It was a little bit of a later game, but
They played
Mercyhurst
Sac State
10 to
last.
7 over Sac State in the first quarter. Ultimately, Sac State would pull away and drop 21 in the fourth quarter. But Mercyhurst, like, wow, didn't expect that from you guys. So yeah, making the most of their appearance on the bigger stage, but yeah, ultimately Montana State all day long.
And yeah, that one I don't know whether I should be concerned about Sac State or maybe Mercyhurst is a little bit better than advertised, but I'm with you, Montana State. This one now let's what other ones do we have that are actually a surprising amount of like somewhat compelling games this week in the Big Sky. I do think actually this one will not be that compelling. Cal Poly heading to Stephen F. Austin.
Yeah, I mean, certainly not a great year for SF Austin so far. They drop a tough loss to Abilene Christian by 8 points. Really, every game matters down there, and that probably puts them out of contention for winning the title, honestly. Interesting game. They lost 27-0 against Houston, and then they blank out Sul Ross State. So ultimately,
The Sol Ross State band.
the Sul Ross State. They've gotten a lot of money this year from FCS teams, so congrats to them. I think Cal Poly's in for it bad, so I would say SF Austin by 10 points at least.
Yeah, I would almost. I think I'm higher on SF Austin probably than consensus, but I would agree. I think they will. I could see this one being a like a 25-point game, but also Cal Poly's much improved, so I don't want to completely write them off.
They did beat the
Um,
brakes off of San Diego, but ultimately I don't think a 50 burger against Western Oregon is necessarily a sign of the times.
exactly. Um, Indiana State going to Montana. I do think this one will be a pretty easy Montana win, but also I think the Sycamores are not the absolute laughing stock that they've been in years past. So I have Montana here, but I don't think it'll be embarrassing. I think it'll be comfortable, but not embarrassing is where I fall.
Yeah, I need to see more from my yacht. Not that they have really any great backup options at Montana, but even with their baby soft schedule, IOT needs to be performing better than that if they want a playoff push late into the year.
Yeah, and I know I saw like some fans talk about like good to see like allow him to work through some stuff, but I'll defer to you on that one because I wasn't able to actually watch it, but
There's working through stuff, and then there's throwing 2 picks to the same damn guy.
fair, fair. Yeah, like I said, I'm picking Montana in that one as well. Idaho at San Jose State. I think last year this would have been a much more interesting game. San Jose State, they came in actually with a lot of hype around them. I think they were picked to finish like fourth or fifth in the Mountain West, which was purely had to have been just a testament to Coach Ken. I can't remember his last name, but the former Navy coach who was there for a number of years. They lost to Central Michigan 14-16. I think that one was a bit of a disappointing one for them. And then 38-7 at Texas, like, okay, that's about what I'd expect. Maybe actually a little bit better than I'd expect. I would if Jason Eck was still there, this is one that Idaho would be on big upset alert. I just don't see it this year. It feels like a get right game for San Jose State for me at least.
I feel like it's going to be interesting, at least early on. I agree. If Eck was there, I would feel different about it. I feel like it was 65-35 or even a 60-40. I'm not saying Idaho can't do it. It's just with the offensive production from last week, I'm not encouraged. I don't think San Jose State is an offensive expert either. But ultimately, I'm going to let the FBS money just roll into Idaho's pocket and send them on home with a loss.
All right, Butler at Weber State, which is one that I was like, okay, I saved it this long because I'm down on Weber State, and then I looked up how Butler's been doing, and congrats Weber. I think you're going to get your first one here today. Or
They got a
have
win
they?
against McNeese last week. I was wrong on that one.
Oh, did they? I missed out. Okay, cut this from the
42-41.
podcast, Chris. I
They
missed
scraped
that
by, but they
completely.
got it
Okay.
done. They almost 20 points in the fourth quarter, letting that happen. That's pretty heinous. But ultimately, they get away with it. Butler, 2-1 on the season, but 2-1 over teams I can't even tell you where they play from. Um,
Yeah,
Northern,
Hanover, is that a high school in southeastern
it
Colorado?
might be. I mean, like, interesting logo. Never seen that before. Probably never going to see it again. But yeah, ultimately, like Butler, eh, like I don't believe in Weber State, even with their good performance this past weekend. I feel like Jalen Record. I feel like he really gave the Weber an outstanding breakout play there for about 78 yards. So I don't believe in them, but I'll pick them because they're the home team.
Yeah, I am too. I'm a little more encouraged actually after that McNeese game, but I still think in the grand scheme, Weber State is just kind of they're just going to be a middle bottom dweller of the Big Sky, and they don't have a lot of excitement around the program. I'd say. Um, Central Arkansas at Sac State. Central Arkansas has been kind of a program that's been frisky over the past couple years. But I have to pick Sac State. Like I need to
For your
for
season
um
predictions, you do.
for my season prediction. So I'm gonna go with Sac State, and also I think Tarleton's really good, but 56-10 is not quite the result you want to see from Central Arkansas. But yeah, like I said, I kind of need Sac State to win this, and I do believe they will. But I'm not I've flipped from being confident in it to being like, okay, guys, don't make me look stupid here.
Yeah, I'm worried about Sac State, big time. Like Mercyhurst allowing that many points, like, damn. Like, I mean, I feel like we're in a pretty good situation this year where we could allow less points than that. But again, I didn't get to see the full game,
We
so
will not score that many, though. That's for sure.
That's true. That's true. 17 is our Achilles heel at this point. 3 weeks in a row seems like a pattern. But, um, I mean, yeah, I'll pick Sac State, but I feel like it's going to be a game like they just played, where it's like halftime, you're like, wow, this looks awful from both sides. Like Central Arkansas is playing above their means, but they're probably going to tucker themselves out, and Sac State are just not figuring things out quickly enough. But they will in the fourth quarter, most likely dropping 20 points.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty solid way to. I could see the game following that script for sure. Then we have Southern Utah at UC Davis. This one's, I'm going to let you go first here, buddy, because this one's more interesting than I think I would have said going into the season.
I don't want it to be this interesting for sure. Like, all of the players that I like so badly on UC Davis don't have great stats, and of course their stats got wiped out by Mercer game. We get that, whatever. Even so, like Bronson Barron having 801 passing yards on the season already, like I don't know, that worries me. I mean, like sure, Southern Utah doesn't have a great record from who they played, but they played all FCS teams, so that's 801 like legit yards. So I'm a little worried by that. Also, their defensive end Lando Brown getting 3 sacks already in the season, that's pretty impressive. I like a lot of what I see from Southern Utah. I'm worried UC Davis is not the team that we expect them to be. I'm going to pick Southern Utah. It's probably going to be wrong, but I feel like momentum wise of UC Davis barely getting away from Utah Tech and then getting absolutely smashed by Washington. I think they're just in the gutter mentally. And Southern Utah, even though they had an embarrassing loss to San Diego in overtime, they took NAU to to the brink, basically 3 points away. Ultimately, 101 points scored in that game. Like that's crazy. That's some sicko content right there. So I'm gonna go with Southern Utah based off of they have more offensive production that I believe in, and also I feel like UC Davis is just in a rut right now.
They do feel in a rut, and I kind of forgot about that San Diego game, to be honest, the Southern Utah. Uh, but sorry, let me pull up Southern Utah's schedule. They looked very impressive against Northern Arizona, which I started to feel like higher on Northern Arizona, but now I don't. I there's so many of these early season results that I just don't know what to do with, So
I'm not discouraged by it.
I
Like defensively, sure, you have a lot to work on, but offensively, the fact that you were able to put 52 points up, I gotta respect that, especially coming from a 17-point fan base.
literally. I'm gonna pick UC Davis because you're still beating me on the year long thing, and this one's so like UC Davis should win. I just don't believe that. I don't believe in them, but I still think, oopsie, I still think that's the safer pick than Southern Utah, and to be a little different, I will go with the Aggies here. Then we have Western Illinois at Eastern Washington. So this one feels like it's going to be competitive, but I don't think it's going to be competitive because either team is so good. I think I think this is a mid off, and I just Western Illinois coming off of that win against Valpo, they looked okay, but the Leathernecks not a real storied football program, so and I'm just real low on Eastern Washington. What do you think of this one, Ben?
Ultimately, I think Eastern Washington's in trouble because Jared Taylor might be lost for the year. So I don't know that for sure, but I know he was very hurt in the game before UNI. Um, Nate Bell is who's backing it up. He's a sophomore, tiny little dude, 5'9", 182. That's probably on his tippy toes. Um, Gosh, I don't want to pick Western Illinois to any degree, but with Eastern not having a solidified quarterback, um, Western Illinois putting 50, albeit on Valpo. Uh, I and it's not even a good offensive production of 51. I'd say Western Illinois just because Eastern being 0-3 already, unsolidified quarterback unless they have a great quarterback step in. I think they're gonna have a really, really tough year, and I worry Coach Best might be on the tightrope because of it, because he doesn't have a quarterback solution outside of Jared Taylor. And even so, Jared Taylor was a better athlete than he was a quarterback.
Yeah, I can't really argue with that. I don't feel good about this either, but I think I am going to pick Eastern Washington. The fact that they kept that one 14-17 against Northern Iowa, and they looked decent against Incarnate Word, who has looked not very good, but was in theory supposed to be good. So I'm going to pick the Eagles. I don't feel I'm in the same boat, but opposite. I just don't feel good about it. But I think there is still some level of like not culture, but competence as a program that I feel like this is a game where they'll find a way to win. But I don't really have a good reason beyond that. So I'll take the Eagles to have some fun with it. And I do think they'll win, but I can't really point to directly why, looking at an actual football reason. Which brings us to we didn't discuss this, Ben, but I'm deciding that this is our game of the week here because it's a ranked matchup. I think it's going to be interesting. Both teams maybe not as one team definitely not performed the way they hoped this season. The other has looked decent, but has not really. Yeah, I think they would have expected to beat Southern Utah by more last week. We have Incarnate Word heading to the walk-up Sky Dome in Flagstaff, Arizona, to take on the Lumberjacks. What are your first initial thoughts on this one?
I'll be honest, my first initial thoughts is it's not the game of the week, but there's not a lot of
Of
like marquee ones besides that. Um, kind of looking through, like there's definitely some interesting ones. Of course, North Dakota State doesn't play this week, I don't think, so that obviously helps with not having a marquee matchup. Um, all in all, I was kind of thinking Austin P. Abilene Christian, but it is 2-1 versus 1-2.
it, if you we can also pick that one, make this one a normal game, and have that game of the week if you want. I was just keeping us in the Big Sky.
Yeah, Big Sky Love is always a good thing. Um, man, I mean, Incarnate Word, talk about disappointing season, that's for sure. They beat Eastern Washington by 10, and that's with Jared Taylor being in the game only a fraction of it. They lose to Nichols. Ultimately, I don't see a way that I can pick an Incarnate Word. I think this is pretty much a slam dunk for NAU. It being at the Walk Up Sky Dome is even better for them. So I'm gonna choose NAU all day long.
All right, I'm also going to pick NAU. I don't see it as the like gimme, not gimme, but I don't see it as definitively as you do. But I still think NAU is the better team. I think this is a bit of a not a coming out party, but of sorts, because I think they are pretty solid and haven't gotten a ton of love, hovering around like 18ish in the polls. But I'm with you. I think they're good. I think I didn't give them enough respect early on in the season. Pennington's legitimate. The fact that they put up 52 last week is legitimate. So I'm gonna take. I will also take the Astro Jacks, which brings us to our actual game of the week between numbers. I'm just gonna go off the red shirt poll here. Number 16 Austin P versus number 13 Abilene Christian. So this one's 16 versus 13. The other one is 17 versus 25. So I think you are probably right in this being the game of the week.
Yeah,
And just so
I
we know,
mean,
this one
I don't
is
know that
in
it's gonna be
Abilene.
super competitive. Um, I don't know. I could see it going either way. Like I could see this being a very close game or very not at all. The only other game I had potentially marked on there was Villanova and and Monmouth, but I don't think most people have Villanova ranked.
Yeah, they're ranked. I think they were before this Penn State
Oh,
game, so I imagine they'll still be. They were 14 in the red shirt, which would have, and Monmouth is 22. I do like that game's interesting to me. I think this Austin P Abilene game is better, but I think Monmouth has a fantastic offense, and I think you have like even if they're going to score a lot of points no matter what. So I think they're going to be a fun team, and I am higher on them than consensus, but I think this Austin P Abilene game is a better game.
okay. Also, shout out the Monmouth quarterback. In I think it's 3 games played has 1,243 yards.
Exactly.
That's pretty
They
crazy.
did that a lot it was similar last year, and I think there's a better team like around them. I want their offensive coordinator. I don't know who he is, but bring him over to Greeley. But back to this Abilene Austin P game. Austin P's kind of a like darling. I would say like darling's maybe not quite the word, but really just a 28-6 loss versus Georgia was impressive, following a FCS over FBS win against Middle Tennessee State. So I think they're kind of that team that everybody's, at least me, I'm like, oh, what's going on here type of thing. So I when you said you could see it not being close, I took that as you could see Abilene running away with it, or did you have that the
No,
other
I
way?
feel like Austin P has a very interesting record, especially smacking Middle Tennessee State. That's very impressive. So I feel like Austin P could run away with it because like Abilene obviously being ranked 13, like very impressive. I think Austin P is not getting enough love at 16. But this past week, TCU, they really made up points in the last bit of it. SF Austin, very very like good team as far as last year to get a win over. This year, kind of mixed results. So I'm gonna pick Austin P. Not gonna differ from you on this one, but I feel like if Abilene was gonna do something, them being at home makes for the best chance for it.
And I think there's a chance that Abilene, I haven't watched a ton of them play this year, but that SF Austin win is impressive. And if the last couple years are any indication, there's a chance Abilene could just come out and run for 300 yards on Austin P. And I think there's also the little added thing of Marcus Howard over at Austin P. So rooting for a former Bear there. So I'm with you. I'm going to go with Austin P. This is definitely though I'm kind of glad that UNC plays the later game, or not later, but 5. I don't love that just in the grand scheme of things, but to be able to watch some of these other games earlier in the morning before UNC kicks off will be nice. So it's a fun week. It's a fun week, and I gained a little bit of ground on you last week just with the Montana win over North Dakota, because that's the only one we differed on. But you still have me by 1 point in the season long thing. So we were pretty lockstep in this one, but we disagreed on UC Davis and Eastern Washington. So this will be fun. I'm glad it's still nobody's running away with it early, because we'll be getting down to it. Always comes down to the championship game being the one that matters. So whoever's leading going into that game and gets to pick the Bison is gonna probably be the winner, or the Jackrabbits if you think.
Yeah, I just can't pick Eastern this week. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the Invaders from the Missouri Valley, but we'll see what happens there. I think Southern Utah UC Davis might be the most interesting game of the week. But we'll see. Austin P. Maybe they're in for more of a challenge at Abilene than we expect.
Yeah, I do think that one will be close, and I'm excited to watch that one too, because that'll just be like a solid football game. I think like a good old fashioned, just good game. Huh. All right. Well, we actually took a good chunk of time earlier, kind of talking about some of the rankings and the general state of the FCS. So we hit our 45-minute quota just about. Ben, any closing thoughts?
No, I think ultimately we really hit the nail on the head, and love the Redshirt Sports poll. So continue to see what me and Chris do in it, and where things end up. I'm sure there'll be a little bit of a shakeup as we go into this week, because our ballots are due by midnight-ish tonight. So we'll see what pops out Monday or Tuesday morning, and where teams are adding up to. Because if anybody's still voting for Mercer, what are you doing? What are you doing?
And as always, if you like what we're doing, please like, comment, subscribe, review. Tell your mom to like, comment, subscribe, review. And if you do not like what we're doing, Ben's DMs are always open. He's got extra Celsius this morning, so he's rearing back and ready to go. Them muscles, the blood's flowing. So yeah, get after him, baby, at Bear Claw Media. And as always, have a good one.